Ready to.
Alright, we did Venezuela.
So Venezuela es un país en la costa norte de América del Sur. La población es de sobre 29,000,000 personas. La gran mayoría de los venezolanos viven en las ciudades del norte, especialmente en la capital Caracas, que también es la ciudad más grande.
Okay. In the 1980s, there was this huge oil crisis, and the price of oil went down a lot. And that was one of their main natural resources, so that was not very good for the economy. And it caused a lot of people to not do very well financially. And in desperate times, people do things that they wouldn't normally do, and this led to a lot of corruption, in and out of the government. La gente de Venezuela está muy pobre porque el crisis petróleo. La gente a veces no tiene dinero comprar mucho comida para su familia. A veces los ciudadanos vivir en las casas pequeñas. No hay mucha protección. Los condiciones es muy malos para los pobres, la gente. El presidente de Venezuela es Hugo Chávez. El presidente controlado el gobierno. Es malo que el presidente controle el gobierno, porque si la persona no escucha al presidente, hay muchos problemas. La Organización de Derechos Humanos creo que el presidente es abusando los derechos humanos de Venezuela. Hay muy corrupción, especialmente en los medios de comunicación. Aquí la gente protesta el maltrato de gobierno. Even in peaceful things like this, that's not really allowed. You're not allowed to voice your opinion. You have to listen to whatever the government wants you to do. And people can be sent to jail for even just doing peaceful protesting. And
Hay mucha corrupción en el Departamento de Policía. Venezuela tiene sobre 65 policías y miembros en la Guardia Nacional. La policía en Caracas tiene fama ser muy violento. La policía tiene tiene muy poca capacitación en los derechos humanos. Algunos policías creen que yo soy la ley, tengo el poder, puedo hacer lo que quiero. Porque las personas no denuncian los asesinatos, muchas personas están libres de la cárcel. En Venezuela, el porciento de todos los delitos fueron cometidos por la policía. Es horrible que las personas no tengan la policía protegerlas. And an example of the police corruption is there was a crime where the father of a son, the son identified who the killers were of that crime, and it happened that one of the killers had an uncle in the police force, and so there were no arrests made by the killers, which shows that like how corrupted the police government is, and that they can't arrest someone who killed somebody because their uncle's in the police force. So it shows the country can't feel safe if the police are involved with the criminals and there's no one to protect the citizens of Venezuela.
Kidnapping is a huge problem. People will just disappear without any explanation, and in a lot of cases it's because they like voice their opinion against the government, and the government didn't like that, so they just kidnap them or or hire someone to do that. In some cases it just like criminals kidnapping people for money, for like the ransom. Everyday people will get kidnapped just for the money, and only about 20% of these cases are actually reported to the police officers, because some of the people think that there might be some collaboration between the police officers and the kidnappers, and so just very corrupt, and like no one really knows who to trust, and they don't feel safe at all. And there was actually one case where a famous baseball player from the United States was kidnapped in Venezuela, and that he had held for like 2 days for a huge ransom, but he was eventually like rescued, and this received a lot of like media attention, and that's unusual for a kidnapping case. Usually it kind of goes like unnoticed, but it was only because he was like a U.S. citizen that received a lot of attention. And
do you know who he was?
his name was Wilson Ramos.
He was on like the
He was like
Washington
Major League or
Capitals.
something. Yeah.
So the main human rights organization for Venezuela is called PROVIA, but it stands for the Venezuelan Program of Education Action in Human Rights. And so it's a 17-year-old non-governmental organization that's mainly funded by Protestant and Catholic churches, but it's critical of the Venezuelan government, so it's like really against Hugo Chavez in power. So it's supporting the human rights and democratic society. So it bases a democratic society on solidarity, participation, and social and economic equality. So they want it to benefit the victims of where the state doesn't guarantee the human rights of a citizen, or if they've already been victimized by not having their human rights.
And then today there's still a lot of problems concerning all these issues we've talked about. It's getting a little better with those organizations, but still pretty corrupt.
It's like hard. It's hard to help when people are getting kidnapped, and especially since the police force is like one of the highest parts of the country. You can't really, the citizens can't like do anything about working against the police force. So.
Yeah, like in most cases, if someone got kidnapped, you would go to the police, but like if the police are in on it, it's kind of hard to help. So still a problem.
Work in progress.
Okay, thank you.